and the irony is, and we know this obviously, is that they wear the masks because they feel that that's going to help them connect with people better. If I'm a certain way, that person's going to like me, all right? But whenever we're wearing a mask, we are being inauthentic. That inauthenticity, is that the word, creates an energetic burden that other people are going to feel. So when they look at you and they deal with you, they're going to feel something's off, all right? So you're not getting closer to your target, you're getting further away from the target of being accepted.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I'm joined today with my fantastic guest, Mr. Arthur Magulianiti.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah, you were fresh off the back of an alpha reset.
I am indeed. Yeah, it was an amazing week as always.
Yeah. So tell us more. I want to dive in on this episode and just break down this particular reset because, as you know, but I don't think the listeners know yet, the program that you came in on many, many moons ago, we are relaunching. That includes the Alpha Reset. We've been getting many requests for many years now to make it essentially public because up until, since pre-COVID, right? 6 years ago, I think, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
The public haven't been able to go through the Alpha Reset. Had to have gone through the activation method first, into the Brotherhood, and then access it. But we're dusting that off. So anyway, we're in a unique position because you've just literally left there this morning.
Right.
The guys checked out. So tell us, how was it?
Well, the Alpha Reset is an amazing week-long program. I mean, not week-long, 3 days, but, each one is unique. Each one is amazing. Each one brings its own energy and its own results. Obviously, there's overlapping subject matter. But to see these individuals come in, day zero in the evening, and the way they leave, the changes in them is just unbelievable. And you can never get tired of it. You can never get tired. As much of the Alpha Resets as we've done, as many as we've done, it's always amazing just to see the shift and the changes in these guys and how they bounce out at the end of the week. And it was just another amazing week.
So what were some of the highlights?
Well, one of the highlights is knowing that at least one guy's going to change color. And to spot that guy coming in, and what I mean by changing colors is some guys have suppressed so much emotion that they are quite numb, and you can even you see it in their face.
Yeah.
They are like white and they are like stuck, and by the end of it, they've got color back in their face and they are more relaxed. And so we had one or two guys that shifted like that, color wise, and and it's always funny because when you come to the UK, the weather's not always great, and people leave with a bit of color, and you think like, you got suntan in the UK? But it wasn't the sun, it was the fact that they are just back in their bodies after being stuck in their heads. And I think that was one of the big takeaways this one, as many are, and that is how many guys get stuck in their head. All right. And as we say, if you're stuck in your head, you're dead. Yeah, and the head's got an important part to play. But when you lead with the head, that's always when you're going to get stuck.
Every time we deliver the reset, there's always, I'll back up. We usually cap it around 11 guys.
Yeah.
Right? And of those 11, usually, I would say in my experience, there are at least half of them that admit to either having suffered sexual abuse and or being suicidal. Not having been suicidal, but being suicidal. Now, for the listeners, I think it's important to state that these guys are entrepreneurs, business owners, executives, right? And every day they show up in their life, be it to their family, their wife, their colleagues, having to wear a mask and project this persona as though they've got it all together. Yet inside they feel like it's all falling apart, right? And to your point, because it's too painful for them to admit that and feel the pain of that, the shame, all the stuff that bubbles up, they go into the head, right? It's easier. But when they're in the head, that's when they become anxious, they become depressed, they overthink, they can't sleep. That then puts them into this cycle of shame, sabotage, and sedation, where it's just this endless loop. And a lot of them become hopeless, right? And but you never guess it because they wear a smile on their face, and yeah, they might be angry at times, but you'd never guess the degree to which they're withdrawn from their own life, and they just feel stuck. But when they're on that sofa, when they're in that room on day one, and they really start to reveal the truth and get real and raw with where they're at, that's when usually about half of them admit, again, for the first time ever, these guys share stuff that they've never shared in their entire life with anybody, right? And usually half of them, like I say, have admitted to either sexual abuse or being suicidal.
Yeah. I've had a few alpha resets where there were multiple guys in the room having suffered abuse of one sort or another. This week wasn't like that, though. But on the suicide, there was at least one guy that had contemplated it, had been. Interestingly enough, this week, there was one guy whose wife had contemplated it. And he actually said to me today, he says, like, TPM saved my wife's life because she was on the route to suicide last year or 6 months ago.
Wow.
And because of the work that he did, he was in a position to support her in a way that helped her come back from that. And that's the first time I've heard that. But yeah, so it's not just the guys, but obviously we know it's the family as well, and it all overlaps.
Yeah, I've heard that 3 times this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 times. I've got to imagine, right, when the guy vacates his position of leadership, right, energetically, it creates this vacuum and this void that someone has to step into,
Right.
in order to be there for the kids. And the amount of pressure the woman must feel in that scenario to be the one holding it all together, right? Just really wishing and wanting her guy to step up and step in and lead. Must be an incredible burden.
Yeah, especially if she's got her own stuff as well, historically, her own traumas and all of that. And now add the additional pressure of kids, the family, even work. It's a big burden to bear. And interestingly enough, we get into the situation where the guys are doing work on themselves. She may feel like she doesn't have the time or the luxury of time to do work on her own. That also can create a problem. Yeah.
How so?
Well, it's going to build up resentment, right? So, like, we talk a lot to the guys about them putting themselves first. And what we mean about that, not to get selfish, not to ignore what needs to get done around the house and everything, but not to start looking after themselves, giving themselves a bit of space, working out, putting themselves back in their bodies through the journaling, through meditation, whatever works for them. Exercising is a big one. And we often find that guys, not often, there are some times where guys who do that find resistance from their partners in them taking that time away, so-called, from the family or from them to do that work on themselves, which is going to make them even better fathers and husbands. But there seems to be a mismatch there of understanding, because it seems like everyone's vying for that minute with the guy, with the hour for the guy, with that connection, that time together, instead of saying, okay, well, you go off and do your own thing.
Yeah, you can breed a lot of resentment, right?
Yep.
So back to the reset then. So this particular reset, you said it was a little different.
Yep.
So tell me more.
Well, it was interesting because it was mostly all Americans that came over, number one. We only had one person from the UK. So that was interesting. Not uncommon. We usually have guys from the States coming over. One of the assistants that came over was also from America, which was amazing. And he had done his alpha reset there, so he wanted to come back and support. So that was cool. Yeah, it was, like I said, there's a lot of overlapping stuff from other alpha resets, but the key thing is just how lost they get in their own heads, and how, it's kind of like the story of the boiling pot, right? Or death by a thousand cuts. Over time, they're just taking a cut, and then they don't even recognize themselves. They lose themselves and who they really are, their power, what they're capable of. They lose all of that. And so when they arrive to us, it's just like, I'm broken. That's the feeling. I'm broken. I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. Please fix me. Right. And those were like words we heard this week. And to get for them to feel, not to understand, to feel, because that's a whole different ball game. Hey, I'm okay. I'm good. And energetically to get realigned. Oh man, that's all the money. Like I say, they bounce out there on day 3.
Reminds me, there was a guy in one of the resets that I did. I'm going to be vague with this because I don't want to make it obvious. An idea of them just being lost.
Yeah.
Right. It was day 1, and this guy had been involved in the shooting in Vegas at the stadium. And it was a couple of years before the reset, but since that shooting, the effect that the shooting had on him, it had completely derailed his life. His business had gone from being super successful to just tanking because he couldn't deal with the pressure and the stress of it. I think he had some PTSD. He couldn't deal with the pressure and the stress at home. His wife was also involved in the shooting, but she just processed it, handled it differently, right? And I remember on day 1, as we were taking them through the process, he was sat on the sofa, he looked up at me and just said, he was crying and shaking and just said, just please help me. I'm just lost, please. And as you know, we've looked into the eyes of a lot of men when they're in pain and they're lost. But there was such a depth to his eyes, like he was so far back and removed from being present in his own life.
Yeah.
And like this lost, like a little baby. It was really, how did that make me feel? I was almost scared for him. Because I really got the sense of how this was his last chance. And credit to one of the other guys, because one of the guys had paid for him to be there.
Well,
because his business he'd gone through the activation method. That had really helped things in his marriage. One of the brothers that was going through the activation method with him then paid for him to go to the reset alongside him because he just couldn't afford it, right? Because of the business. Awesome. It is awesome. But, good news is he came out the other side of it on day 3, the energy within him, some of the processes for him on day 2. Obviously we don't talk about what happens there, but the process that's kind of mid-morning, second big process, that was huge for him. Giving him an actual space within which he could really express the rage that was inside of him, because as guys we're often taught to suppress anger, right? Don't be scary, don't be intimidating, don't be this, don't be that. Yet at the same time we're also expected to penetrate the world, and the charge that we need in order to make things happen in life is also the charge that we feel when we're taking a stand for something, be it ourselves or otherwise, right? And there's a spectrum of that charge too. Talking about it, when you've been through something like sexual abuse, your wife cheating on you, a death in the family, whatever it may be, talking therapy will only do so much on that. There's got to be, in my experience, and having seen hundreds, thousands of guys go through this process with a predictable outcome, there's got to be an outlet for a guy to actually express that.
And a lot of guys have got no idea how to do that, right? We had a very similar story on this one where a guy had experienced something health-related a while ago, but he got so scared from that he's continued to live sort of like a parallel life because he feared that would come back, right? So he was completely numb. A lot of the guys that come in have suppressed their emotion because every thought that they've had has had a residue, all right? And when we don't express in whatever way that emotion, we store it. And that's what leads to illnesses. That's what results in outbursts at the most inopportune times. But most of it is because the guy hasn't learned how to express that in a safe way. And I'm glad that we have something to help those guys do that.
Me too.
And it's funny, as we were going through day 2, right in the beginning, some of the guys saying, I just need to do this, and I just need to do this. And inside I was smiling. I'm thinking, you're going to have that opportunity. And of course, because of the amazing processes that we take them through, by the end of the day, they have felt, number one, the emotion, and they've expressed it, right, in a healthy way. And you can just see how lighter they are as a result. Because some of these guys have been holding it for like 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, at least.
And so how can you show up fully present in your life when you're bogged down and burdened by emotion that is just stuffed down, year in, year out? And it's not just old emotion. It's the current emotion that's happening in your life now because obviously the guys are there because things haven't been working out. But historically and the present time, that's a lot to carry on your shoulders while you're still expected to show up every day to, provide and protect and all of that. It's a hell of a burden.
Hey guys, I just want to share something with you. I'm sure we can both agree that in order to fix something, you need to know what's broken. And not only need to know what's broken, but a step-by-step methodology on how you can fix it. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Otherwise, you're going to be toiling with things. That's why I created a free training, a training that not only shows you how you got to where you are, where your relationship is missing that love, respect, admiration, and even intimacy that it used to have, to how you get it back. How do you retain that where your wife's looking at you the same way she used to look at you when she said, I do? I don't know about you, but for me, when my wife looks at me like I'm her man, that I feel like I can conquer the world. And I want that for you. Simply go over to thepowerfulman.com/scales. That's thepowerfulman.com/scales. And I have a free video training for you. You can just click play and see if this resonates for you. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, every guy wants respect, admiration, appreciation. Typically, bell-shaped curve. Most guys' love language is acts of service. Physical touch, words of affirmation.
Right.
Guys just want to be touched sexually, mostly, and told how great they are, right? In order to get that, there's got to be some polarity in the relationship.
Yep. And
guys often try going about polarity and creating polarity by using tactics. And they often wonder why the tactics don't work. And oftentimes it's because those tactics are coming from the head.
Yeah.
Right? And it's amazing when the men go through a process like the Alpha Reset and they become embodied, they're actually able to be grounded, and they're not in a theoretical, logical manner.
Right.
But they actually experience what it feels like to be immovable, to just be relaxed, have a relaxed confidence, nothing to hide, nothing to prove, take no shit, do no harm, a quiet confidence, calming effect, all those things that we talk about. That in itself creates polarity. That is polarity, right?
Yeah.
And this is why when the guys return home after the reset, without even saying a word, the energy in the household's different.
Right.
And the people around them just start responding to them differently before they even try. And oftentimes they get way more out with way less effort.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what happens often is the guys want to talk things through, right? Because they assume that if we talk, we can sort it out, we can fix. It always comes back to the fix-it mentality. And the other thing is they think, oh, because we've had problems for 5 years, it's going to take 5 years to sort out, right? Or at least 5 years, yeah. But it all comes back to energy. And that was one of the big themes of the week is the energy, right? When you are in that energetic space, you can polarize people straight away, in a good way, and I guess in a bad way if not used right. But it's amazing, we tell the guys, people will feel your energy when you walk away this week, right? At the airport, whatever, look around. And it's amazing how many comments we get of, they're not strutting, they're just being them, but they're being them energetically, and they're in touch with their power, right? Who they are. I mean, their hearts are open, really. That's what it is. And people can feel it, in the airport and all of that. And so, so when they come home, their partners are going to feel that because they've been feeling or not feeling anything from them for a while. And now they have this energetic, open, loving presence in front of them. Anyone can feel it. Never mind the person that knows you probably the best. Yeah,
100%.
And in that moment, things can shift straight away. So it doesn't necessarily take 5 years because it took 5 years to get here that it's going to take 5 years to fix. It can resolve itself in that moment.
Often scares all the women as well, right? Because who is this guy? They get excited because they've been wanting this guy. They've seen that this guy has been possible all along.
Right.
It's typically the guy that they fell in love with, but he hasn't been around for so long that it can often freak them out, right? Can I trust this?
Yeah.
Can I take down the walls and actually, let this person in again? So they test it, obviously. But, we brief all the guys on this stuff before they go home and give them support afterwards. But it's really incredible to hear the stories, right? Just from, they don't even say a word. They just go back, different energy, quiet confidence, just take care of stuff in a very unassuming manner.
Yeah.
Because I think when they take off the mask, right? Going back to the original point, these guys who are entrepreneurs, executives, leaders who walk around all day wearing this mask, having to pretend like they've got it all together. When they go through this process and they're actually able to realize that actually, they did always have it together. Yeah, there was things they've been through and they've had to process it and release it and reclaim various things. But on the other side of that, just the quiet confidence that they then bring and exude through the authenticity of knowing that they have nothing to prove to anybody. Because all along they've been trying to prove, right? They've had this pain inside of them that's been pushing them. And no matter what they've achieved, it's never been enough, right?
Yeah.
When I have this thing, then I'll finally feel good enough or worthy enough, or then they'll see, or whatever it may be, right? And they're able to drop all that. And, people listening to this, I can imagine it may sound scary because some people, I'll lose my drive.
Yeah.
You don't lose your drive. You're just driven in a very different way. Your drive comes from a very different place. Instead of the desire to prove, it's desire to serve. You're pulled by pleasure and purpose rather than pushed by pain. But it's just great to see these guys on the side just being authentic, just dropping the mask, dropping the bullshit, being real, and doing so very easily and effortlessly.
Yeah, and the irony is, and we know this obviously, is that they wear the masks because they feel that that's going to help them connect with people better. If I'm a certain way, that person's going to like me, all right? But whenever we're wearing a mask, we are being inauthentic. That inauthenticity, is that the word, creates an energetic burden that other people are going to feel. So when they look at you and they deal with you, they're going to feel something's off, all right? So you're not getting closer to your target, you're getting further away from the target of being accepted, all right? And so dropping the mask, being authentic, that actually is what's going to draw people to you. They're going to like you, love you, accept you much easier than, you trying to do something behind a mask or trying to be a certain way with certain people. That just doesn't work. And that's what's got them into the situation for the most part, right? Trying to be something that they're not, okay? Because they believe who they are isn't good enough. But that's based on a lie, right? That's based on a limiting belief. I mean, we speak loads about limiting beliefs. It's a lie, but they try to compensate and prove themselves through that. Instead of saying, hey, I'm okay. I'm not broken. I might be a little misaligned. I might have gone off track. But at the base of it, I am whole. I am good. I've got a lot of great characteristics. I can achieve a lot. I just need to get myself aligned authentically and line up the mind with the body. I mean, with the heart as well. Yeah. Too many guys are leading with the head and not the heart. Right.
So let's just touch on that before we finish up this episode, because I think guys listening to this and hearing that, I don't know if it'll land for them.
Okay.
Right? I think they might think that, what, lead from the heart? That sounds a bit weak. That sounds a bit fluffy. Like, I don't want that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Just explain that concept.
So where we're coming from our heads, mostly that's relates to our ego, what we think. For example, setting goals, right? Maybe that's the easiest way to explain this. When we're setting goals and we come from our head, we often are looking to see what kind of goals should I have according to society standards. All right, society says we've got to have the house, the car, this, whatever. Those are more egoic type of goals that might not necessarily be your kind of goals, but you going for those because you think that's what you should have. Now, if you get in touch with your heart and your passions and all of that, you may figure out that actually none of that actually matters to you, right? What you're really looking for is something completely different. Perhaps you enjoyed, you could enjoy business. That could be your passion, but maybe there's something else there that you enjoyed that you've been pushing away because you think it's not accepted in the world, right? Basically, what we're trying to do here is get clear on what really matters to you, not society, right? And it can be different because sometimes what we land up doing is chasing goals that actually don't give us what we wanted. And so we might be successful by society standards and very unhappy. We see loads of guys very unhappy. They thought they'd make the million. They made the million. They're still unhappy, right? Oh, maybe I'll make 2 million then and that's going to make me happy. No, but those are heady goals, not authentic, heart-led goals. So what we do, the head's important, but if you lead with your head, you're always going to potentially land up chasing the wrong kind of goals. When you lead with your heart and then use your head to get there, then that's going to be a more aligned goal that's going to get you to your goal, to your authentic goal, much faster.
I like that way of explaining it. It reminds me of a Kurt Cobain quote. I'd rather be hated for who I am than liked for who I'm not. Yeah. Or loved for who I'm not, in fact. I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not.
Right.
I love that. I love that because, as you choose to be authentic, like the guys coming back from the reset, there'll be some of them listening to this who are on their way home or will have been at home by now. And not everyone's going to like it. Because as they settle into their authentic self, nothing to hide, nothing to prove, take no shit, do no harm, all the things that we talk about, for some people that's going to be unsettling because they're no longer going to be able to manipulate them or use them in the way that they used to be able to.
Right.
And they're going to quickly find out who is in their life for the right reasons. Because the right people don't matter. And the more that they're able to stick with the right people and by being authentic, right, they'll attract more of those people into their life, then the easier the life will become. Yeah.
We talk a lot about, we've spoken about energy. We talk a lot about energy in what we do. And it's basically that. When you are authentic, you are vibrating at a higher frequency. And you're sort of spiraling up when you do more things that support you than drain you. And that includes bringing in the right kind of people to match your consciousness, right? Now, before, if you were doing things that weren't supporting you and having people in your life that don't support you, right? Then you kind of spiraling you down. And a lot of the guys that come to us have spiraled down. And so it's really an energy game. Do you have things in your life, and are you doing things? Do you have people in your life that are raising you up energetically, or they're draining you? And that's really the crux of it all, right? Are you ascending through the things that you do and the people that you spend time with, or are you being dragged down? Everyone wants to ascend, but we've got to become aware of the things that are causing us to be held back.
I love that. So guys, keep an eye out for the Ascension Blueprint. That's the program that is going to be coming out very soon. That does include the Alpha Reset. We're going to talk about that on the next episode a little bit more, because Arthur went through that experience many, many years ago. And like Dougie Fresh always says, at the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.